IFM, our dear judges, teachers from different schools, from both the teams, our dear participants, and the audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to you all. I would like to welcome you to this debate. Today's debate, we are following the motion Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. This is the third edition for this debate, and it's our first session, the second round. Last week we had the first round, and so the second round is this week. The theme under which we are following for this debate is empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic, and social frontiers. Dear audience, I would like to inform you of the two teams that we have in the building, and this include Bilal Islamic High School and St. Mary's. But before that, I would like to remind you of our participants that we have had since last week in the first round. This include St. Mary's Bugema, Mbale Parents, Nakaloke Islamic, Ikiki High, Nkoma SS, Hamdan Girls, University Link, Bilali High School, Manafa High School, Bugema Comprehensive, Nkoma High, Mount Masava, and finally Resilient. But since it's a debate, we had, of course, the losers and the winners. And among the winners, we have St. Mary's Busamaga, we have Mbale, Hamdan Girls, University Link, and amongst this, we also had our best loser, who is none other than Bilal High School. They were among the losers, but then after they came back and again participated, hence becoming the best. Dear judge, I would like to inform you that in front we have the negators and the affirmers. And from the affirmers from Bilal High School, we have Sibawai Himdathir, we have Mujumbi Swabra, and Cheptai Mudashir. Among the negators from St. Mary's Bugema, we have Anida Bright, Ojilong Gracious, and Naron Moses. Dear audience, I would also like to introduce you our judges, who include Mr. Luemba Musa in the middle, Mr. Mwanja Swamad on the right, and Honorable Omishes Asna Halima on the left. And before we start the debate, I would like to call upon one of the judges to brief us on how they will be assessing the debaters. You are welcome, Mr. Luemba.
Thank you, dear MC and members. Good morning and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I take the opportunity and honor to welcome you to the second wing of our debate. Allow me to also welcome the schools and the teachers to this, plus the colleagues in the desk and those in the listenership. I won't take much time because the evaluation score sheet, I think, is already familiar to the members. But just remind you that each of you is assessed out of 100 by each of the judges. So I wish you the best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Judge. In fact, in the building, these participants that are in today were there last week, so they are well briefed. I would like to also acknowledge our dearest sponsors, who are Akajob Nabu Online, Hilltop View, IU Nursing School, ISU Government, Honorable Karim Masaba, Health Spring Care Center, Abra Supermarket, and finally, Kambu Rajab Enterprise. I'll not waste a lot of time. I would like to right away invite our very first farmer from Bilal Islamic School, who is none other than Sibawaihi Mudathir. You are welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator, the judges, the honorable members, the audience, all good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sibawaihi Mudathir, an affirmative from Bilal Islamic High School, standing in front of you to strongly support the resolution that says Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods rather than goods and services rather than exporting raw materials to ensure raw materials for youth prosperity. To better understand this resolution, we came up by defining the key words in the resolution, and one of these is exportation or exporting. This is the selling of services and goods and products to foreign countries. Other is value added. Value added goods, these are products that have undergone a process of transformation to add their value. And the other is services. Services are intangible products or intangible exports. These include, we have ICT, we have tourism, education, and financial services, plus many others. We have raw materials. These are unprocessed natural resources. For example, we have unroasted coffee, we have raw cotton, we have minerals, crude oil, and many others. Youth prosperity, this means the economic and social well-being of the young people. For example, skills development, we have employment, income, and business opportunities, plus very many others. As the government, we the affirmatives are standing here to strongly support this resolution. And before I navigate further into my discussion, allow me to give the direction of this resolution. We as the government, our role is to ensure Uganda achieves greater youth prosperity and empower the youth and empowerment if it shifts its economic development, its economic away from just exporting raw materials to exporting services and value-added products. This will help to improve on our youth prosperity. I'd love to inform the House that Uganda is already exporting mainly raw materials. We are not exporting finished or processed goods. Uganda is exporting raw materials, and these include coffee. Thank you. And these include roasted, unroasted coffee beans. We have milk, we have vanilla, cocoa, we have maize, we have fish, gold, we have cotton lint, and very many others. And these are majorly exported to nearby very few markets. We are exporting only in East Africa. And these include East African countries that are taking our exports are Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania. This is a very small scale of market that we are exporting our products, the raw materials. And other countries that are taking in our exports are, we have Netherlands, we have Germany, we have United States of America, we have United Arab Emirates, we have and very many others like South Africa. But unfortunately, these countries are only taking raw materials. We are not exporting to them our finished goods. They are taking only raw materials. Allow me, as the government, give our expectations. We as the government, we say, we shall show you why raw material exports alone are limiting youth development, low income, low job creation, and they are increasing our vulnerability to global price fluctuation. This also tells us that we as the government, we need to empower our youths to increase or to add on the value of our products, our products that we are exporting, so that we reduce on unemployment and increase on the national wealth. As the government still, we as the proposers, we appeal to the House to agree with us, and we say the opposition members may say Uganda may lack infrastructure to develop. Please first wait and sustain this point. We say these opposition members may say Uganda may lack infrastructure to develop or process these services. And we say, as the government, a lack of infrastructure is not an excuse of stagnation. It is a sign, or it is an act to show us that we have to act. And that's why we are focusing on it. That's why we should focus on this matter of lack of infrastructure. We as the government, we are trying to construct or promote infrastructure. Please, Your Honor.
Yeah, Honorable, did you talk about raw materials being exported into other countries?
Of course.
Please give me the percentage of the highest country and the raw materials exported to that country.
Okay, thank you. As I was still explaining, I think you fell into my discussion. I was still explaining to you. I was telling you, the opposition members, the honorable members today, you may say, as the government, we expect you to say that we may lack infrastructure to develop these services of these value-added products. But we say lack of infrastructure is not an excuse to stagnation. As you have said, the percentage of exportation.
POI.
What?
Point of information.
Not allowed, I'm still explaining.
But you never answered the question.
I told you I was still explaining. We are not in cross-examination, please. Allow me to explain and state your point. First of all, as the government, we are constructing the infrastructure. First of all, we have facilities in northern Uganda. We have coffee production, coffee processing industry in various places. What we only need is to increase on the number of the facilities that are adding value on our products. The other is we are trying to construct a road to Congo. We are also constructing an airport in Hoima, which is almost 95% to completion. This also shows us we have the infrastructure to develop our products, but what we only need is to add the value. What we only need is to increase on the number of these infrastructures. And the other is, in conclusion, to our dear audience, this debate is not only discussing about the exportation, it is about our future. The future of our youth's empowerment depends on our choices today. Let me ask a question. Do we continue exporting our raw potential cheap, or we refine it, add value, and export services that create jobs and opportunities? As I take up my seat, allow me to leave these simple questions to the negators, the oppositions, to give us a review about them. First of all, do you believe that Uganda should continue being a raw material export forever? And lastly, can you convince us and the audience at large whether Ugandan youths lack ability to innovate our services that they export? And for that, allow me to take up my seat for God and my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Siwawaihi, a senior student from Bilal Islamic High School, from the farmers. I would like to right away go to our second participant from the mediators, who is none other than Anida Bright, a senior student from St. Mary's, Bugema. You are welcome.
That resolved, the panel of judges, the two antagonistic sides, and the audience at large, a good morning. I am Honorable Anida Bright, the first negator from the negator side. As the resolution of today says, Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. Our dear farmers, I agree with the definitions of the key terms in the resolution, but you did not give us the sources. How sure are we that the information you're giving us is valid? So allow me to give you our definitions and the sources. According to Oxford Advanced Standards Dictionary, 9th edition, focus simply means concentration, or the center of something, or the center of interest. We also have exporting. Exporting, this is the process where a country or a company and an individual sells their goods outside to another country to get income. Services are simply non-physical products offered to the consumers, like electricity, education, banking, and many others. We also have raw materials. Raw materials are unprocessed or minimally processed substances extracted from nature or from the environment. And youth prosperity. Youth prosperity refers to the flourishing, well-being, and economic success of the young people. And a youth is a person between the age of 18 to 35. Allow me to give you an insight about this resolution. We as the gators are not saying that Uganda should not export value-added goods, but we are saying it should also export the raw materials, because currently Uganda that is not capable of exporting. And how sure are we, our dear farmers, that the products that Uganda is going to be manufacturing are going to meet the international standards? Uganda is a third developing country. We don't have the technology. We don't have the machinery. This will call for importing machinery, and hence the Ugandans will start paying high taxes because we shall need money. And currently Uganda is in a debt with the World Development Bank. So this is going to cause high taxation between we the Ugandans. And are you aware that Uganda also imports some raw materials to make some products? And I want to pose a question before I start giving you our cases. What should be done to the goods that Uganda cannot manufacture? Because you're only looking at Uganda exporting the value-added goods. What should be done to the goods that Uganda cannot manufacture? And where will the raw materials be taken? Our dear judges, allow me to inform you that as Uganda, which is a country, should also promote international relationship, and it should also be in the Commonwealth Association. So if we are saying that Uganda should only export goods, if we are saying that Uganda should only export value-added goods, for example, with the exportation of value-added goods brings a short-lived relationship. For example, a country like Uganda is exporting, let me say, portion of land to Kenya. There will be a short-lived relationship, and whereby Kenya will once say that Uganda will not want your flag because it's of low quality, and the relationship will be broken. But when you export a raw material, it's the country you're exporting to decide which product for it to make, and you see that there will be a long-lived relationship there. And these are our cases as we team the gators. Importance of exporting raw materials in relation to the theme, that's it, that empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic and social frontiers. We see that this will equip the youth with the possible skills that they will in future use when they're manufacturing their own products. And we also see that since there is an aspect of brain drain, where we see that currently many Ugandan youth are going in outside countries to look for jobs, the exportation of raw materials still provides jobs for those youth outside the country. For example, Uganda is exporting a certain raw material to Tanzania. There will be industrialization in Tanzania, and whereby our youth who have left Uganda to Tanzania will be able to show their experience. Let's allow me, please. Bearing in mind that Uganda is a landlocked country, the exportation of value-added goods will make the transportation very expensive. Imagine a country like Uganda, which is landlocked, exporting value-added goods. There are taxes which are put on those value-added goods. There is also packaging, which is very expensive. And therefore, there should be also exportation of raw materials, because the exportation of value-added goods leads to low generation of income. Imagine packaging with other stuff that are carried on while processing a product. But when you're exporting a raw material, it should just be packing the raw material, and the raw material is taken to another country.
According to your speech, you say Uganda should continue exporting raw materials to sustain our youths that are going to those countries. Yeah. So do you believe Uganda should continue being a raw material export forever?
Yeah, I believe it should continue exporting raw materials.
So please sustain us by giving us reasons to why.
And I'm going to answer a question. Our dear judges, these are the importances of exporting raw materials in relation to youth prosperity. There is job creation in primary industries. There is also skills training and capacity building. We also see that and financing, where this is going to enable the development of small and medium-sized enterprises. It will also increase the country's income generation. And here we also see the reasons why Uganda cannot export value-added goods only, but also with raw materials. Currently, Uganda has the inadequate industrial base. Uganda is not capable of producing the goods that will meet the international standards in the worldwide market. How sure is that the goods you're going to produce as Uganda, as a country, how sure is that those goods are going to meet the international standards? Not allowed. There are infrastructure deficiencies due to the fact that currently Uganda gives electricity to Kenya, DRC, which is Democratic Republic of Congo, and Tanzania. There are electricity outages, which limits the work of industries in Uganda. Industries cannot work competitively because of the electricity outages. We also have inadequate roads, railways, for the fact that Uganda is a landlocked country. This will be very expensive for Uganda to transport the value-added goods. And we also have access to finance. Currently, as I told you, Uganda is in a deficit with the World Development Bank. So how sure is that Uganda is going to generate the income which will be enough for importing machinery for the industries and also transporting the products? With the fact that there is a high demand for materials than value-added goods, this is given by New Vision. Uganda also imports some raw materials, as I said, like the spare parts for assembling cars. And for your information, Affirmative, Uganda does not manufacture cars, but it assembles cars, meaning it imports the raw materials for assembling the cars. And our status quo is that currently Uganda is exporting both value-added goods and services, but also raw materials. The burden we live to is that what should be done to the goods that Uganda cannot manufacture. Our time frame is 4 years, and our action plan is that in the first 2 years, through the Ministry of Trade, we shall sensitize masses about the benefits of exporting raw materials, and in the last 2 years, we shall set policies that will uphold the exportation of raw materials in relation to youth prosperity. And our house is the Ministry of Trade. And as I conclude,
you talked about an upgrade to meet the international trade.
Yeah, I talked about it.
So you want to tell us that our youth don't have the ability to meet, to upgrade.
Thank you so much. Currently, we see that we have industries in Uganda, but the technical part is taken by foreigners, which are the Chinese. Meaning the Ugandans are not capable of providing the skills in the manufacturing industry. For example, in Tororo cement, the technical part is taken by the Chinese. We also have construction of roads. The technical part is taken by the Chinese. Thank you. I rest my case.
Thank you so much, Honorable Anita Bright from the Alligator side, from St. Mary's, Busamaga. I would like to right away go to our second farmer, who is Mujumbi Swabra. You're welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, esteemed judges, and all present. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Mujumbi Swabra Shamira. I am the second speaker for the Affirmative side from Bilal Islamic High School. I stand firmly to continue supporting the resolution which states Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. My role as Affirmative 2 is to emphasize our case, respond to opposition, and provide more examples and evidence. First and foremost, I like the question from the opposition, how sure are we? We are sure and very sure because we made critical research. Nevertheless, the opposition also say Uganda provides raw materials for people like in Kenya, the Ugandans who are in Kenya. So now it's providing raw materials, but where are they? They are in a different country, and that's Kenya. Then there I ask, is Uganda benefiting or Kenya benefiting? Your also talked about competitiveness, whereby you're forgetting. Yes, I agree, it will be their competitiveness, but instead, where there is competitiveness, there is also innovation that will come. Our youth can design brands, package creatively, and compete with quality. So, this competitiveness you're talking about, instead, it will bring in innovation. What's the team opposition you're forgetting? In addition to what my colleague talked about, there is raw materials limit youth involvement and empowerment, leaving them disappointed. Uganda's raw material export system is capital intensive and dominated by a few foreign companies. For example, United States, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, and many others. Our judges and the audience at large. Are you aware our youth, who constitute 75% of the population, are often left out, and yet the youth which are being left out are the ones bringing to the big population of the country. And actually, the ones who are being left out and they are the ones going to make our country to sound up. Not allowed. For example, coffee is Uganda's biggest export, but we export mainly its beans. The real profits go to foreign companies that roast and brand it. Jobs and money we lose. Unfortunately, from nowhere we are losing the job and the money, no wonder not indirectly, but directly when we are seeing. Let us get serious indeed. With value addition, we could build more local coffee processing plants, because we already have some like in Tungamo district, Mubende district, and Kipunjiri. We are having there the local coffee processing plants. However much, we could build more, train youth in barista and branding skills, and add more value. That is real empowerment. Now here comes the question. How shall we empower the youth in the country? And yet we are exporting what will make them to be employed, what will make them to be active and lift our country, Uganda. Let us be fair to all Ugandans. You know, there is a word somehow sounding, but let's continue. Let me pass it from you, then you'll tell me others in this house. In addition to that, value addition helps to create jobs, hence fighting youth unemployment. Youth is around 13.3% officially, but higher informally. Uganda's youthful population is a potential demographic, but only if we create jobs. Exporting raw materials like coffee beans or minerals benefits a few, but processing these materials into finished goods creates entire industries. For example, yes, I agree, we are benefiting. Indeed, we are benefiting. But I asked how many are benefiting. It's a few number, meaning they're taking the minority, they're forgetting about the majority. So you're leaving a large number, but you're only seeing a few benefiting. That's what you're forgetting. But let me remember you one thing. By processing these materials into finished goods creates entire industries. There will be a process of manufacturing, packaging, marketing, and many others. For example, instead of exporting raw coffee, cotton, milk, gold, etc., Uganda can process and brand its own coffee, creating thousands of skilled and semi-skilled jobs for young people, which will empower them financially. You know, they will be active. They will learn skills of different, and after these skills, they will not go in one day, but still, they will use them for financial in infinity way. Allowed. Try to be quick. That was not the last.
What is your guess? As you chief Affirmatives.
Our case is to actually Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for use.
It is a resolution. I want the case. Your case as you chief Affirmatives, please.
Obvious, we are wanting something like for the Uganda's youth, they must be prospered on these raw materials here, not only exporting what you are going to make them to be empowered. That's our case indeed. I was still telling you, besides, there is increased revenue and economic independence. Raw materials are sold cheaply because they are perishable. Like the one my colleague said, sugarcane which recently got rotten on the way to Kenya. I don't think, Actually, those were the news trending. Some sugarcane was recently got rotten. I'm already informed, thank you. Got rotten actually, let me not use examples that are far from us. We can use the tomatoes. Tomatoes are always very many and they can easily perish so quickly. So the sellers always give them a little praise. So I'll try to put it similar to this what you are talking about. Well finished products sold at far higher prices. A kilo of unprocessed coffee sells around $2. But as a packaged, branded product, it can fetch about $50 or more. This tenfold increase in value means more income for Ugandan business and more tax revenue. For public services like education and healthcare, with more revenue, the government can invest directly in youth programs and vocational training.
POI. Honorable, I want you to provide statistical analysis that sugarcane got rotten on its way to Kenya.
I think you have to
provide the statistical analysis to the judges. Thank you.
I could have done so, but since time is not on my side, I'll do it next time better. I promise to do it next time better, inshallah. So, as in my conclusion, I call in the house to come. Actually, I call in the house asking that Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. Remember, raw exports might feed us today, but value-added exports will feed us tomorrow and beyond. We as the team Affirmative, we are not neglecting exportation, but rather we are prioritizing at what extent must it be done. It must have a boundary, what are they exporting indeed, and how and from where and what are they leaving behind. I agree, yes, some will benefit. How many will benefit? You're only catering for the few number. The global competitiveness you're talking about, unless otherwise, it's just going to bring for us creativity and innovation. Where we have creativity and innovation will bring in development in the country. So I call on the house that Ugandans focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. Due to the interest of time, I really appreciate for the time given. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Munjumbi Swabra from Bilal Islamic High School, a senior 3 student. I would like to call upon our next debater from the UGANDA'S side, who is none other than Ojilong Gracious. You are welcome.
The panel of judges, the two antagonistic bodies, and the audience at large, good morning, my name is Ojilong Gracious, here to negate this motion not resolved. Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. Allow me first start by the first farmer who came and lied to the August house. The first farmer came and talked about the country only being able to export raw materials. Where was it written, please? The country exports both raw materials at the moment and value-added products and services. As we have seen, they even talked about, there is a contradiction here, Papa. They are talking about Uganda being able to export electricity to and value-added products to countries like Kenya, DRC, South Sudan, and they are saying that the country is only exporting raw materials. Oh my God, dear farmers. So he also came and talked about the East African community taking our raw materials and products. He talked about it. If they are taking raw materials and products. Now, they asked us how these youths who are in other countries shall be employed. These youths who are in other countries, working in other countries, will be employed when we sell our raw materials, when we export raw materials to other countries. Those countries, for example, now Uganda as a country cannot process engines for cars, cannot process motherboards for computers. So if it sends its raw materials like zinc, copper, and others, it will give these youth who are in those outside countries a job. Now, if we stop exporting raw materials, how will they be employed if they can't manufacture, if they lack the raw materials? We are seeing that these raw materials are on high demand at the moment. Allow me to give you an importance in relation to youth empowerment. If we export our raw materials to other countries, we are not refusing that the country should not export value-added goods and services. It should, because a country cannot only depend on exportation, it must also depend on what? On the importation and selling of its goods and services. But dear panel, we bring you this importance that if we export raw materials as well, the country will generate faster income. How? Since these raw materials are of high demand, it will generate income from raw materials and as well from value-added goods and services. So dear panel, you can see that the farmers are clearly refusing this point of raw materials. So if you refuse them to export raw materials, how will the country be able to generate income if the country itself does not have enough income to start up or finance industrial processes? For example, buying the equipment necessary for producing advanced goods and providing extensive services. Hold on. So, dear panel, the first speaker also talked about, he actually labeled himself, or as he labeled the team Affirmative as the government. Where was it? Oh my God. Yeah, but you can see that they are abusing the government as well. They are trying to blame it and put it on their side. So, there is a problem of choice of words at the moment. So, dear, hold on. He also asked if Uganda should keep being a raw material exporting country, but we are exporting both at the moment. We are not saying it should keep on exporting raw materials at the moment. All countries export raw materials and all countries import raw materials. So if you say that you will not export raw materials, then I don't know really what to say. Yeah, honorable. You really don't know what to say. So the first speaker also came, she talked about being cocksure of her research, but we are not seeing the research here. We are seeing her only telling us, they gave us definitions, they didn't provide their sources of information. But here, panel, we also asked, we gave a POI and we asked about the highest country where that Uganda is exporting its raw materials to, they failed to provide. But our dear panel, as you can see on this clear sheet at the top statistics, it clearly shows Uganda's exports and the youths who are employed in those mining sectors, those agricultural sectors, they will not want those jobs. They will go and run for industrial jobs. But if they continue empowering the both of them, they export both value-added goods and services and both products, they export value-added goods and raw materials, they will promote youth empowerment through job employment, whereby
you talked about us relying about the exportation of raw and finished goods.
Yes, I did.
Could you please tell us about those few finished goods and tell us how that less revenue we are collecting from those finished goods is managing to develop our country and prosper our youth?
Now, Uganda is a third world country. Yeah, but no. Uganda is a third world country. So we need many income generating what? Many income generating businesses. So if we export raw materials and if we export finished value-added goods and services, we shall be able to generate faster income and the country will develop at a faster rate so that we may also be able to manufacture its value-added goods and services to the worldwide standard. But at the moment, it can't manufacture them to the worldwide standard. So you can see that. So at the panel, our first speaker also talked about, allow me to give you more insight on the importances of exporting raw materials as well. So if we export raw materials, it will create job creation in the agriculture sector, to promote these small scale industries. They help to create jobs for the rest, which will promote youth prosperity here. In relation to our theme that says empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic, and social frontiers here. So if we give these raw materials a chance as well, it will be promoting youth prosperity. She also talked about skills, hold on. She talked about skills training and capacity building. She talked about it, which is promoting skills training. It will promote skills training whereby the government gives out scholarships whereby students will be able to go to outside countries, learn more from the outside countries on the processing manners, and they'll be able to process their own goods into value-added goods and services, and they meet the standards of the world. So I leave a burden for the next farmer. What is the level of quality and acceptance of Uganda's goods in the world market? Please come and give us a statistical analysis, which is a heavy burden. And please, we also want you to provide evidence to show that there is sugar cane that rooted on the web it is. We don't want verbal information, it's usually alternated. So for us, we're currently unaware, and the judges are currently unaware.
Time is up.
Provide evidence. Thank you. I request to rest my case. Ojilong Gracious.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ojilong Gracious, the senior high student from St. Mary's, Busamaga. I'd like to go to the Affirmative side, who is none other than Chetai Mundashir. You are welcome.
Esteemed judges, esteemed audience, fellow debaters, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In front of you is Chetai Mundashir, student from Bilal Islamic High School. I'm here as Affirmative 3 to uphold the resolution and strengthen and defeat the opposition. First of all, the first affirmative and the second affirmative has shown us how important to focus on added value goods and services to prosper our youth. Before I go furthermore, I would like to emphasize on this. They are honorables from Negeta's side. They have come here, they have told us that raw materials and also adding value to raw materials is important, which is good for us. I don't know if you are supporting the resolution or you are opposing the resolution. Because now our emphasis is not only exporting raw materials. Our emphasis is also adding value to these raw materials. Because now, when we just export raw materials, we shall get the limit of jobs. But now, adding value to the raw materials, we may see that our Ugandans and our youth will be empowered with the job opportunities. Through these three doors, adding value to our raw materials and services. Because now, adding value to raw materials and services will lead to establishment of industries in Uganda, whereby we need the focus. We cannot just depend on outside countries. For example, Affirmative told us that Uganda is in the third edition in what? In exporting. But now, when we shall be the first in exporting our goods? So please, our focus is not transporting raw materials, but we should add value on these raw materials. He also talked about that exporting raw materials, it is Uganda exporting added value services and goods. Uganda has no capacity and technology. My dear, Uganda has the capacity. But now, for example, we have industries like dairy industries, ICT, and also agro-processing industries. What is our emphasis here? We need to just focus on what? These industries. Through the government to focus on these industries such that we can develop the capacity of the youth prosperity. The youth have the potential but they need support from the government. But now, when we focus on only just transporting raw materials, how shall we develop these industries? So we have the capacity to establish this. Amala?
Thank you so much, Honorable. I want to inquire, how are you going to achieve this resolution as you team Affirmative?
We are going to achieve this resolution through equipping the youth in Uganda today with different skills, through establishing, adding value to these good resources and goods. Affirmative, we too also talked about adding value to raw materials and services. Also, will equip our Ugandans on guiding Uganda with revenue, and also Uganda will be economically independent. For example, now today, Uganda has the capacity to establish these raw materials. But now, how are we going to add value? Adding value to these raw materials will make Ugandans to get jobs through these industries. For example, now, when we just concentrate on raw materials, we shall not gain enough revenue to the government. But establishing industries, the government will be able to gain revenue from factories, workers, marketers, and also export revenue. Now, this revenue will help Ugandans to develop the infrastructure. The infrastructure where we shall have schools, health centers, and also health facilities. Now, this will help to empower the youth, and will be, for example now, when we have the health centers, the youth in Uganda will concentrate on developing and competing in Uganda. Not again and gain the revenue to the country, empowering our youth. So I defeat the opposition and uphold our case. We need to add value to these goods and resources so that we can build and empower our youth in the country. Another thing, I'm the front, that's right. Another thing, adding value to these goods and services, we shall reduce the brain drain in the country. Today we are having our labor exported outside. For example, very many Ugandans are outside the country. They are in the Middle East, they are in Kenya, they are in also UK. But these people are raw materials. For example, raw labor, we should not just export the raw labor, but we should also add value in these people. But how? Now, how can, for example, these people are going to work as cleaners, engineers, and teachers. But now, to reduce this brain drain, is the country all focusing on these facilities and these industries? Agro industries, dairy industries, we should focus on it so that we will inspire our Ugandans outside and stay the country and also develop different skills and develop competitiveness in the country, which will reduce the brain drain in the country. In addition to that, also adding value to the goods and services will reduce idleness and crimes in the country. How? Because now just only exporting raw materials, we shall have few jobs for our youth. But when we add value to these raw materials, we shall create more jobs. And these more jobs will be created into these different industries. For example now, in tech industries, youth are able to develop skills like printing, designing, and websiting. Now, these skills will equip the youth with skills like creativity and innovation, which will reduce the idleness. When a youth is creative, will be able to design and also get an income, which means we shall reduce the crime rates in the country. In addition to that, I'm aware.
You have 1 minute.
In addition to that, I want to refute the opposition, please. Can you sustain? We are not only focusing on raw materials. I cannot deny the fact that we should not stop exporting raw materials, but now are we going to develop the rules with just exporting raw materials? Why don't we add the value of these raw materials such that we equip our youth? We cannot equip the whole population of Uganda when you don't have. So I rest my case on telling the team opposition and the audience, please. We have the capacity as Ugandans. Uganda has the land, has the potential, and had everything to do. But what we need here is the focus. We should focus on this so that we keep this youth in the country. So that's why we need to support the resolution, and with the affirmative, we are proudly and strong and feel the position that this we stand for this resolution. For God and my country, thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chipchai Mudashir. I would like to go right away to our very last participant from the Nigetas side, from St. Mary's, Busamaga, who is Naron Moses. You are welcome.
The panel, the two competing sides, and the August House, good morning. My name is Naron Moses, the third speaker from the Nigetas side. Our farmers, thank you for coming. I am here to play three major roles. One, identify the clash points, get the loopholes of the affirmative side, and win the debate on reasons as to why the Nigetas have won this debate. Note resolved. Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. There are farmers have failed to realize that we, the Nigetas, are not refusing value-added goods and services. We are simply stating that both should be exported because Uganda is a third world developing country. The first and second speaker from the affirmative side left a heavy burden for their last speaker, which the last speaker failed to do, making us take a upper hand. He was supposed to answer the burdens that my first two speakers gave him. He failed to answer the burdens. I'll still leave the burden for you people. The first burden was, what should be done to the value-added goods Uganda can't manufacture? Then, what is the level of quality and acceptance of Ugandan goods in the world market? Those were key things he was supposed to answer to ensure us that he was informed on the resolution. Rome was not built in one day. This simply means that development is a process. And the theme of this whole debate is empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic, and social frontiers. Like I said, my three major roles. One, identify the clash points. One of the clash points was raw materials. I'm not saying that we should only export raw materials. You also said that, I pose a question, can a value-added good come into place without a raw material? No, a raw material is very vital because from a raw material, a value-added good comes into place. So how can you refuse the exportation of what? Of raw materials? You fail to understand the resolution. The first affirmative speaker failed to give us their sources of information. There was a loophole. They failed to utilize, the first affirmative speaker failed to utilize his time. How? You're supposed to use your 8 minutes profoundly. He never gave us their sources of information. We gave you just as our first speaker simply stated. Monitor.com and newvision.com. These are the things that the judges say are better sources of information. Your information can be concocted. It can simply just be made to give us statistical analysis. We cannot believe whatever you're saying. The first affirmative speaker gave their views and spoke about exporting only to African countries taking raw materials. Are you informed that Uganda does not only export to East African countries? It does export. He spoke about Netherlands. Trade is taking place. So what is your stand? He, as the first speaker, was to give us their action plan. What was their action plan? How are they planning to do this? You gave us, you defined the resolution, we accept that, but your sources of information. That means we can simply say that information was concocted. What are you trying to tell us? You spoke about the advantages of value-added goods, but aren't raw materials important? They are important. And how does this impact the youth? Let me take my time. Honorable, you failed to answer the burdens that they left you. That was what the third speaker. We gave the advantages on reasons. It is quite paramount to understand that raw materials are very important, but we are not rejecting value-added goods and services. They spoke about services like electricity being taken to countries like Kenya. These are very important. So how can you say that, you know what, you as the government, you're going to stop exporting of raw materials? Uganda is a developing country. We need to generate income from all angles. I still pose a question. What is your stand? You came saying the second affirmative speaker that you come sure about your statistics and what. What is the evidence? You failed to provide substantial evidence to the panel that we can believe that, you know what, she did have a point. So there we can nullify whatever you say. If we're to weigh the views between the affirmatives and the negators, our views outweigh the affirmative. Accept it, please. Accept it. I'm just in time.
Okay, you talked about
Yes.
I want to ask you, Mr. Honorable.
Please ask time.
Are you aware that raw exports generates low tax revenue?
Are you informed that raw exports...
Answer me.
I'm answering the question. It's my time. Please take your seats. I won't answer you. Please. You failed to even answer the burdens that they left. So let me answer, because I want to answer everything profoundly. Then you get what you answer. I am answering the question. Raw exports and value-added goods and services are both being exported. They are both being exported, meaning they are vital and important. It's quite paramount and something to understand. You had one view, allow me proceed. They talked about lack of infrastructure. You yourselves know that Uganda lacks infrastructure. And you're talking about exporting of value-added goods. Yes, we support the exportation of value-added goods. Are you informed that as the negators, we have realized and scrutinized this resolution that our goods cannot meet international standards. So why not we benefit from all angles? Let's base on the fact that let's also export raw materials. Yes? Please, let me take my time. So he spoke about exporting, that he said we're only exporting raw materials. But are you informed that we're also exporting value-added goods? This shows that we as the negators are taking an upper hand in all our arguments. We gave you on how the youth will prosper. You say that yes, the government is being blamed that only the minority are benefiting. Does that mean it is you who are benefiting because you're saying with the government? Yes, accepted.
You talked about low standards
yes.
of the global market. Do you know that in Uganda we have small
I'm informed, thank you. So are you informed about
companies that are
please, I've got your question before you complete. I've got your question. He spoke about poor transport network. You are informed that Uganda has poor transport. Are you informed that Uganda itself is a landlocked country? So how can you say that you'll only focus on exporting value-added goods? Why not raw materials? We need to benefit from both sides. We as team negators are not refusing exporting value-added goods and services. This is because one, it promotes trade. Uganda is part of the Commonwealth Association, part of the East African community. So how would I feel, me being like, for example, let's say I'm a Kenyan and you're Ugandan. So you're only giving me value-added goods. And I also have processed portion in my work. So like, how do I benefit? Are you sure that this, like I said, there's short-term relationship, just as our first speaker said. One, are you informed of the influence of Western powers? For example, the Chinese in industrial sectors in Uganda. For example, industrial park here. The Chinese are the ones who are having top management. And what are our Ugandans, our youth being used as unskilled labor, earning only 10,000 a day. Where does that leave us? So why don't we support the exportation of raw materials? Because we know it's based on agriculture, and every African in Uganda knows that that's our background. We can simply know from something we've understood. It is quite practical. Theoretically, how can you operate a machine that you're not being involved? The second speaker came and spoke about coffee is majorly Uganda's export. Isn't it? Please, let me take my time. She spoke about marketing. True, marketing is not wrong, but are you also informed that the marketing also takes place for these raw materials? So what is your stand? Please provide for us evidence. You have failed to provide for us evidence, so surely we as the negators are taking an upper hand. We are not refusing the fact that Uganda's focus should be... Thank you. We are not saying the fact that Uganda's focus should only be on exporting value-added goods and services, but please, allow me to take my time. We left a burden of proof. Uganda cannot... What can Uganda do for the goods it cannot export? What can it do for those goods it cannot export? My name is Narrow Moses, the third speaker from the affirmative side, and those are the views on why the negators actually won this debate. Rest our case.
Thank you so much, Honorable Naron Moses from St. Mary's. That was our last participant from the negator's side. And as the judges prepare, I think I would like to remind you that in today's motion that will be following between Bilal Islamic High School and St. Mary's Busamaga is Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. This was under the theme, empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic, and social frontiers. The format under which we'll be following was World Schools Debate, and this is our second round that is going to take place today and tomorrow. Yes, our second round, our semi-final is today and tomorrow. And for today, we have St. Mary's and Bilal. I will not waste a lot of time. I would like to call upon our very first judge to...
when I go to the topic, which is Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services, I'll make an overall comment on what I thought was eye-catching. For me, from all the parties, I saw a very big conceptual bias when people were referring to Uganda as a third world country. Every time, because of the difference in international political economy and international politics, these terms always change. From third world, we initially had underdeveloped. The Global South had some issues with the word underdeveloped, so they reinvented something called third world. We still had problems with that, and then we prefer to call these countries not the level of the States and the UK or the European Union as developing countries. So that is more better, other than continuing to refer to the Global South as the third world country. The other one is creation of jobs as a result of adding value. What I think is we have machineries and industries particularly focused on just export of raw materials. Because when we looked at the topic of discussion, what are raw materials? Every person gave their own understanding of what are raw materials. But then there is one element, maybe what we forgot is even finished goods can be raw materials. A finished good of Kakira sugar works, that is sugar, right? Can be a raw material for Uganda breweries. And then a finished good for Uganda breweries can be a raw material of another processing factory. So the focus on question of jobs, and then we went on and failed to quantify that. How are these youth getting jobs in these finished goods? For example, sometimes I'm doing export. Sometimes I'm exporting matoke to European Union and Turkey and Russia. Is that raw material or a finished good? Because I'm exporting for consumption. So for me personally, I do not see that element in when we were discussing the aspect of raw material. The other one is, can we be adding value to every aspect of production we do? For example, gold. The president was always coming out to examine why are we selling unrefined gold. And then they built a national refinery at Entebbe. We are just refining the gold, and after we export it as raw material. Then, can we be exporting all the raw materials? The answer is both yes or no. So, withstanding all that, I liked that no one just came and just said, okay, we have to be doing this, and this is the right way. This is the way of debating. You give us the opinion, and then the people just take what they want to take. So this is on a positive note. It is a very, very good congratulations to all of you. Then lastly, on all the speakers from the St. Mary's Busamaga, Miss Bright, we had a lot of generic statements. Uganda not being able to produce products to meet the international standards. When you go to Kenya, our Nile breweries is having one of the most goods in the supermarkets. I had friends from Rwanda, they were praising our products. So sometimes I don't know what we were meaning by not meeting the standards, the international standards. You know, ISO, International Standards Organization, it is giving stamps, stickers for these products to be produced, to be transported to other countries. And then Uganda is not producing cars. We have Kila Motors here in Jinja. The car we have Kayora. I know I think Mbale SS bought one of the Kayora cars. Not so. So that one also did not make very good point. And then Mr. Crushers, what is the finished product of electricity? Because you gave this as an example of raw material being exported to Kenya, Rwanda, Congo. What is the finished product? Maybe after you come and you tell me as a separate. The other one is Mr. Moses, lack of infrastructure. I have one question. What is easier to transport? Example, we are transporting limestones from Uganda to the Central African Republic. Remember, during the independence celebrations in Busia, the president promised to build roads to Central African Republic. So if we are transporting cement and limestones, which one needs more good infrastructure development? Is it raw materials or the finished product cement? So the East African community, that is, I just empowering you to go and make some research on East African community, the free mobility of goods and services, and the whole essence of free market. The other one is Mr. Chapter, establishment of industries. I talked about those industries just purposely to extract and produce raw materials. The National Gold Refinery in Entebbe, where if you want to attest the gold, you take there and then they give you the certificate of export, you export. Then Madame Swabra, foreign companies, and then you told us, I was expecting companies, you told us, actually you gave countries, the UAE, UK, and others. And then coffee being the number one export, I don't know if it is still the number one export. And then I wanted to see, do we really have youth prospering in export of raw materials? And then I wanted also to hear, when we emphasize that we should always export finished goods, how are we going to cater for these youth who are working in these factories producing raw materials? The last one is Mr. Mdafi, when you said raw exports, raw material, export of goods, export of raw materials, coffee, milk, and then when I'll give examples from the Southern community, Lato milk is having a very good brand in Kenya. And we have a lot of other examples. And then why did you think that only finished goods are going to be the source of jobs? So all these, they are all good points from whichever angle you're going to give them. But what I lacked was to give them some bit of clarity. So I want to end with those remarks. And then on a personal note, I want to request the teachers of these two schools to invite us. You invite us, we come, and at the earliest time possible, we come at your school, we just talk to the maybe debating club or other people around, and we interact. We see how best we can build a better Uganda, empowering the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwanja Somad, one of the judges. I would like to call upon our second judge, who is Honorable Asna Adima. Please.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Madam MC. It has been kind of a chill morning, beautiful, listening to beautiful voices, listening to the honorable members, the incomings one. So I am very happy that at least we are not seeing what happened last time. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I must say congratulations to the two teams we are having today. Last time, I think we had a little bit, we had a lot to talk about. We had to look at very many things, but today, as Mr. Somad said, it is really, really very good to see you, to see a little or much improvement. Please clap for yourselves. The previous sessions were hard, and I know some of you went back home very annoyed, thinking that we are the bad people, but these small things that we tend to avoid, they end up bringing problems in future. So I must applaud you that the small things that we talked about are like the mode of delivery, the voice modulation. It is kind of, I am really happy to see you have really improved. I know last time it was not good, but today you've been very good. And I see that when we upgrade, you're going to do better, okay? So thank you so much. And allow me tell you some few things that we tend to look at, okay? So take note of that, because this is a competition. We will not get these microphones to tell you in advance. So we expect to look at these small things when you are doing the presentation. So does everyone have a pen? So we tend to look at the argumentations, being the first thing, where we look at the evidence and reasoning. How do you reason out? Then we look at the refutation or the clashing. Is the other opponent able to refute, rebut what the other opponent has said? Then the mode of delivery. How are you delivering this information? Then we are going to look at also the respect and smartness. Smartness covers the voice modulation, the eye contact, that is the stage using. So if we master these things, debating is going to be very easy for us. Now, Ron, I have a problem with you. A small problem, but I know you will improve. And I don't want you to take it too personal, that why is it that every time it is me, it is me? Now, Ron, as a debater, as a honorable, when you are counter-interacting with the other honorable, there is what we call respect. And when you look at the World Schools debate, respect is given over 50, okay? Because the way we handle the other honorable show that this is really how it's supposed to do. When a honorable is asking a question, be like, yes, honorable. You allow the honorable to finish the question. Even I know you are very good. I must say you are very, very good. Even the way you speak is shows that this is a real debater on the floor. But the respect, the aspect of respect, will lead you to lose very many marks. They will leave the argumentation. You being a good speaker, you can argue, you can refute, you're smart. They will leave each and everything and concentrate on only one aspect of respect. Because we assume all of you know, when they identify you, have you ever watched parliament sittings? When the honorable is disrespecting, what do? They send them outside. So if you don't respect the other honorable, be like, if he was asking, you know, he has been asking you a question, and you're like, enough, stop, I understand, I am informed. Yes, you are informed. But allow him to ask a question, let him finish, and answer him in the right way, okay? So I must say you're very good, Naron, and debate is a place for you to be in. Just work on that small thing, and the next time you're good to go. Okay, so thank you so much. I want to say congratulations once again for doing a great job and for coming here. And thank you to the teachers for not ending the other week. You had to say, let's go and finish the things. So thank you so much to the teachers for handling these small things, and all the other students who are listening, the audience. Thank you for always coming. Please keep it up until the end. We want to see all of you winning, and there is no loser in debating. If you can come up and argue out issues, you're good to go. So thank you so much. My name is Asina Halima, and most of you are aware that I'm an aspirant. I started like you as a debater, so I believe I have a future in Parliament. So as you are aware, I am contesting for the Member of Parliament, Mbale City, so I would wish and I would be happy that you are my supporters. Okay? So thank you very much for listening to me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please, your votes are needed kindly. So I will not waste a lot of time. I would like to call upon our very last judge, who, I know your heart, you know this, yes, even said, things are hard. You're scared, eh? You shouldn't be scared, you know, shouldn't be scared. I'd like to call upon our very last judge, who is none other than Mr. Luwemba Musa. Please, you're welcome.
Thank you, dear MC. Thank you, participants, for putting up such a wonderful show. Like the colleagues have noted, it was surely a wonderful show, and a very, very big improvement from day one. I just so wish that we were here for a full month. I know by the end of the day we would be able to be exceptional in this country, Uganda. I thank the members for having participated, and for those who are listening in, indeed we are humbled by your presence with us in the diaspora. Our theme this morning is Uganda's focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. Like before, I have some questions that I raise, because I told you that as a debater, you are supposed to have questions with you in mind regarding the theme that probably the other person would have actually had in mind and raised it to you. So you put yourself in the shoes of the other to imagine and reimagine what the other person has in mind. My few questions that I've put down here are: one, what is Uganda's focus? And then two, what is the nature of our exports? Then three, do we have the element of value addition? And then four, can we distinguish between exports and raw materials? And then five, how do all these, the focus, the value addition, the exports, goods, services, how do they connect to youth prosperity? And then lastly, can we do a cost-benefit analysis of whether it is raw materials or it is value-added exports. Importantly, to note and remind our listeners that Uganda's exports as of now are largely agriculture as a developing economy. And I don't think anyone will have an hesitation to that. So if our exports are agriculture, then it means that whether it is value addition or it is about raw materials, it is going to be within the agricultural line. Honorable the show was good. The only issues I had with you is how do all these connect to youth prosperity? And I think this cut across all the members, the different sides, the different honorables. The key element here is that what we want to do at the exporting, whether raw materials or value addition, must actually help not those who are in service for particular point, but those of us who are at the youth stage. So that indeed what we shall do at that national stage through policy, through law, through name it, is actually going to support youth prosperity. The question is, which is also coming in, is it youth within, or is it the youths outside, or is it as open as we can imagine? So still going by this, it was not only emphasizing those within, but it's saying that what we do here, can it also help those who are here, not to say that we are limiting it to those who are here, but it can support those elsewhere. But then remember, you are also supposed to take this motion and you put it within the major theme. So if the major theme is empowering the next generation navigating Uganda, then it means at some point it disqualifies of those who are in other countries, and it leaves you here at home. You said we export to only East Africa. At least I was keen to hear that. And then I was asking myself, really? So if we export only to East Africa, and then later on you also say that we also export to other countries, I think that brings in a contradiction. Brother, that if we already have existing coffee processing plus others, so is it about presence? Now at that particular point, can we say that those in place are active? And if they are active, what then do we need to add in or to add on to make them better to support youth prosperity? Anida, agreeing with the definition was fine. Saying the other members didn't have sources was also fine. But then redefining them with sources, I think it would have been better if you had noted that to make what had already been defined better, these sources actually support the definitions given to us by the honorables. And then the question of whether the goods will meet international standards, I think ISO, like my colleague has noted to you, actually defines whether it is raw materials, whether it is value addition, there are standards that we must meet. So it means that either way, we cannot say that our goods will not meet the international standards unless we justify that maybe the nature of the industries, the nature of the skills we have, and the rest will not give us the opportunity to produce what will actually be required by members at the international space. Uganda with a debt burden, that was fine. But then the link with high taxation and also back to the theme, I think was also missing at some point. Then the issue of international relations that you cited was also fine. But my colleague in international relations will tell you, will ask the question I'm asking. Does exporting value-added products and not raw materials actually affect the issue of international relations? So unless you fill in and you show that indeed what we are doing here with the raw materials is going to be affected in this and this and this way, otherwise I think that leaves the point hanging. That the importing countries actually determine what Uganda should produce. Remember, today we talk about an open economy. I know you will come across globalization as a concept at some point. If it is a global economy, then it is what you actually put into the economy. Think about that the way you think about Onkoma. If you have better matoke, you are good to go. So if you bring in a seemingly poor quality commodity, the blame cannot be on the market, the blame goes back to you who is the producer. So it means at least the onus gets on to the country that is producing the exports, but not onto the other countries that are importing, or not onto the market space as it is. The issue of packaging and taxes, does it increase? What about raw materials? Are they not packaged? Are there no costs that are involved into that? The issue of job creation. How about the industries? Are there no industries that are attached to raw materials? I think my colleagues have explored that. So if we say that job creation is an issue, then we'll also question whether we have job creation only under value and only under exports with value, or under raw materials. Infrastructure limitations, the question was clear. When do we need better infrastructures? The example of cement and limestones to Central Africa from the colleagues, I think, was a better deal there. The issue of skills, does it not help the youths if this is improved? So if you say that we are emphasizing value addition, doesn't that imply that better skills are actually going to be emphasized? And if there are better skills emphasized, who benefits more? Since we look at that as a sector where the youths will actually actively participate. Honorable Mujumbi, the issue of brain drain helping other countries. I think it goes back to what I started with, that maybe the motion itself might not significantly show that your focus is going to be on Uganda, but when you put it thematically, then it will actually bring out the issue that what we are looking at, what we have here, not what actually exists in the other countries. Competitiveness versus innovation, I think that was a good exploration. 70% of the population being left out. Coffee as a key example, I think those needed exploration and referencing. Also seeing unemployment at 13%, I think that also needed sourcing. Raw materials are sold cheaply, raw exports feed us today. I think that was a good quotation from someone. Raw exports feed us today, value addition might help us or helps us tomorrow. Ojlong, expounding on what the members on the other side noted, I think that was fine. But then noting that they lied to the House, I think unless you can qualify the word a lie, because a lie is actually bigger than so many other concepts you can use for that. So if you say it is a lie, then you must actually overhaul is the word, overhaul whatever has been noted by the others. Youths in other countries benefiting, I think we've talked about that. Raw materials as creating faster income. The question is, do we need faster income? Do we need better income? But then we can wait tomorrow for bigger incomes when we add value. So that is something that we can explore. I'm not taking side, but just for exploration purposes. Employment, value addition in the industries for the youths. I think that was fine, but then do we need industrialization for both, and to what extent? That was the question I was asking. Do we need industrialization for raw materials? Do we need industrialization for export promotion? They have told you that even industries will actually generate raw materials, and what we can take to be a raw material here can actually be processed, a value-added product to someone else. And what we can equally take to be value-added product can actually be a raw material somewhere. So still that needed to come out, right? The issue of concentrating here with no brain drain, I think that was fine. Then the evidence of existence of industries, I think we needed to show what form of industries we actually have. Then I was also asking myself one general question. The point of information. How many are we supposed to allow and when? That is one. Maybe the onus is on the person on the podium. And then two is what Honorable Asen has raised. Remember, point of information sometimes comes in as an opportunity to you who is speaking. Because then it means you are going to make it clear to the other member and disband a lot of what they, in fact, take out the false issues in what they are raising. So every time you refute a point of information, at some point, given the fact that we have few minutes, that might be okay. But it will not be okay all the time. If you said, no, I'm informed and all that. Because then you will be missing out an opportunity to explain to these other people and make certain points better or issues better, or even refute whatever accusations or whatever allegations, whatever the inconsistencies they have. That is one. And then the other issue is how do we respectively refute the point of information? Because that also carries marks for it. Yes, dear Honorable, with all due respect, I have a minute, please let me wind up. And then someone will understand that, okay, had it not been time, he would have given me an opportunity. Naromi, finally, exploration of your role, I think that was fine, also emphasizing that we are not refusing this. I think that was also good, but then the question is that you were raising, what then do we do with the value-added goods Uganda cannot manufacture? I thought that the other members were going to have an issue with that statement. Remember, we are looking at focusing on exporting value-added goods. It means it is as if, in essence, we are saying, can we add value to the raw materials that we have, or that we are exporting, so that they cease to be raw materials and they become value-added commodities or goods. So it means it is out of the play for us to talk about goods that we are not manufacturing, or raw materials that we are, goods that we are not manufacturing. Then the source of information, I think, was also missing. Then you also had an issue of not answering the member when we asked you which one fetches more, and I think it was also an opportunity for you to take up to say that yes, whereas because the question was which one fetches more if we are selling to the international market. Is it raw materials? Is it value-added commodities? Saying it is value-added raw material, value-added goods was fine, and then you explain yourself back to your position, so that you don't show that you are actually supporting what you are saying, but you are also not refuting it, because you have a justification as to why you think the way how it is stated here, better we emphasize raw materials but not value addition. I think that aside, I thank you for participating and listening in. And yeah, back to the assessment finally. Like we noted, just to remind that each of us was assessed out of 100 by each of the judges. So it means that each of you is assessed out of 300 because we have 3 judges. And it is an independent assessment, like we have noted before. And these are the results. St. Mary's High School, Judge 1 had 61 plus 76 plus 74. to give a total of 211. Judge 2 had 87 plus 86 plus 92 to give a total of 265. And Judge 3 had 83 plus 75 plus 79 to give a total of 237. When you add 211 plus 265 plus 237, you get 713. Bilal Islamic, Judge 1 had 71 plus 66 plus 73. This gives a total of 210. Judge 2 had 86 plus 80 plus 87, which gives a total of 253. Judge 3 had 82 plus 78 plus 83, which gives a total of 243. When you add 210 plus 253 plus 243, you get 706. So it is 713 to 706. And with that, I declare St. Mary's High School as the victor with 713 points. Thank you for listening in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Congratulations. And then the difference wasn't all that much. Just to remind you, in the building, we had Bilal Islamic High School, who were the affirmers, and St. Mary's Busamaga, who were the negators. Under the motion, Ugandans' focus should be on exporting value-added goods and services rather than raw materials for youth prosperity. And the victory went to St. Mary's. In this debate, we were sponsored by Academy of Naku Online, Hilltop, IU Nursing School, ISU Government, Honorable Karim Masawa, Health Spring Care Center, Abra Supermarket, and Kambugu Rajab Enterprise. And our dear listeners of 93.1 IUFM, I would like to inform you that these debates are live on 93.1 IUFM and also on our YouTube, and I would call upon you all to please subscribe, and this is where, plus the participants too, if you want to go and rewatch those debates that you have been having right from the start, they are on 93.1 IFM, and please, you should also subscribe. I don't want to waste a lot of time since we are time bad, and in fact we have a lot of things to do. I would like to end here, and in fact before I end, our next team will be Nakaloke Islamic and University Link. University Link will be the affirmers, and Nakaloke Islamic will be the negators. They will be following the motion. Investment in the youth sports and arts program should be significantly increased as a tool for social cohesion. My name is Nekesa Zabora Vanessa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.